Hey guys, welcome to the Field of 68 YouTube channel. If you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button and you'll get more college basketball content just like this. Kentucky's coaching search goes on for another day. Scott Drew has said no to the University of Kentucky. Jeff Goodman, you confirmed the news from the Lander, the first time I think maybe ever that you are confirming the confirmer. Talk to me about what happened. Talk to me about Scott Drew's decision and what is the situation that Scott Drew and Baylor and Kentucky are currently dealing with?
Well, the biggest thing for Scott Drew was family, which you knew it was going to be, right? I mean, he's been in Waco for 22 years. His kids, all three of them grew up in Waco. They were all born there. That's all they've ever known. He's got a daughter who's a sophomore at Baylor, two sons who are high school age, and ultimately came down to family. I mean, they flew to Kentucky without him. I mean, that's kind of unheard of. That's unheard of, but that's how much he values family. That's how much they were concerned. And ultimately it came down to that. It just came down to like family wasn't completely on board. Obviously he's very religious, prayed on it. Family prayed on it, woke up today. They talked for hours last night about the decision, woke up today and just felt it wasn't the right time. So Scott Drew has now passed on Kentucky and Louisville in the last month. Like, insanity for somebody at Baylor. I mean, think about it. We had said that even 5 years ago before he won a national title. And this is it. You know, if you pass on Kentucky and Louisville, he's 52 years old, will probably end his career, I would assume, in Waco, Texas at Baylor. And again, some would say there's no reason to leave. There's no reason to mess with happiness. You're getting first-round picks. You're always in the discussion right now, you know, for one of the teams in the hunt for a Final Four, or at least a top, 10 preseason team.
Yeah, I understand that. First and foremost, you said his family flew without him. Does that mean that the restaurant pick was true? Was he actually in the restaurant? Goodman, can you confirm the college basketball
he was in
Waco of the week?
He was in Waco. Yes, he was there because they went without him, which again doesn't happen very often. So, he's off the board, and I knew this was going to be one.
Before we move on to what's next for Kentucky, I appreciate the process that Scott Drew went through with making this decision. We don't see a lot of college basketball lifers. He's been there, is it 24 years now? 23 years?
I think it's 22 years.
Yeah. 22. So he's going to be a lifer there. We could be looking at him at Baylor for 30 or 40 years. And in this era, it's not often that you see that. We see too many times people kind of jumping from job to job to job to job. And I appreciate Scott Drew for making a decision to just kind of say, you know what, I'm happy where I am. I'm not going to go and chase maybe, a bigger dollar figure or a higher profile job or a place where there is a bigger arena and a bigger fan base. I appreciate and respect the fact that he said, you know what, I'm happy here. I'm going to stay here, and turn down 2 schools in Kentucky, 2 top 10 jobs. That's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, again, like it's unheard of. It's unheard of, especially for a coach from Baylor. And again, this was something that, I think he wanted to move at the right pace for him. He didn't want to rush it. He wanted to make sure he was making the right decision. But ultimately, again, I think he just felt like if the family's not completely on board, we know how that is. Like you go somewhere and your family's not happy, you're not happy. And Kentucky's a fishbowl. They're a fishbowl. And Waco, he's built up that equity where he can have a horrible year and it won't matter. There's going to be a statue of Scott Drew built one day in Waco outside the new facility. And you go to Kentucky, you just don't know how it's going to be. Yeah, I think Scott would fit in many ways, but if things don't go well there, even in year one, Rob, even in year one, let's say he hits the portal, things don't go well, they get bounced in the first round or don't make the tournament. Year 2, the fans are going to be on him. Like, hey, you better make the tournament. You better do something this year. There's not, again, I think he's built for it in a lot of ways, but I don't know when things go poorly. If they went poorly, which I don't think they would, I don't know if
they wouldn't go poorly for Scott Drew. They wouldn't go poorly for it. And first of all, second of all, Goodman, you weren't able to figure out how to get your main camera to work. So why don't you look down at your laptop instead of letting us see up your nose the entire show that we're doing. Third, let's talk about where they go from here. I mean, I think the next name on the list that everyone's put out there is either Billy Donovan or Dan Hurley. I'm assuming Billy Donovan they can't actually go after until the bowl season is done, which I believe is either Wednesday or Friday, depending on how schedules shake out and how many games they end up winning. But it would lead me to assume that Dan Hurley is the next coach that they go after. Is there any chance that Kentucky can lure Dan Hurley from Storrs to Lexington?
That's the. Do you understand what I'm?
That's 0% chance. Yes,
I'll put 2 zeros up. How's that? I'll do this. 2 zeros. That's the odds of them landing Dan Hurley. It's not gonna happen. Don't even waste your time with Dan Hurley. To me, I would focus more if I'm Mitch Barnhart on what's next. And here's what I would do. If I'm Mitch Barnhart, he doesn't have a search firm. Here's what I would do. Figure out the next couple candidates that you want to go after. Start to move forward. I don't know if it's Bruce Pearl. I don't know if it's Chris Beard, Sean Miller, Mark Pope, whatever. Those 4 seem to be, but again, remember Barnhart 15 years ago did not want to hire John Calipari because of some of the baggage that came with him. Now, he was convinced, persuaded to do so, and it worked out for the most part for, 11 years of it, 10, 11 years. Will he go that route with Pearl, Miller, Beard, all that come with some baggage? Let's face it, they all come with some baggage. Or do you go Mark Pope, the former Kentucky player who's done a hell of a job, did a great job this past year at BYU? That's a little bit of the safer pick. Mm-hmm. I would say this. So I would go that route and start to do some of that due diligence and move forward for the next few days and see where you get, while waiting also, because then you're days away from, like you said, Billy Donovan. The play-in tournament begins April 16th, ends the 19th. The Bulls right now are the 9th seed in the East. They've got to win multiple games to get into the first round of the tournament. Probably not likely, okay? So if they get knocked out, like you said, it's the latest it would be is a week from tomorrow. Now, Billy is singular focused. He's not going to really give any answer to Mitch Barnhart now, whether he's interested or not. But you wait a week, you see if some of these other guys, the Bruce Pearls, and if you love them at that point, you go all in. If it's Bruce Pearl, Sean Miller, Mark Pearl, whoever it is, if you're Mitch Barnhart, you can go all in. And if they take the deal, if you love them, you do it. If you get to where you're 5-6 days down the road now, Rob, you wait for Billy Donovan. And if you think Billy Donovan, there's a 50-50 shot, you probably wait anyway.
Yeah, I have a very hard time seeing Billy Donovan lead the NBA for college based on what college is now. It's completely different than the college that it was when he left. And when he left, it was too much.
So I've talked to people close to him. I've talked to people close to him in the last day. And what they say is the one reason why he might do it now is because what you don't have in the NBA is control of your roster. What you do have in college is control of the roster. And his roster hasn't been good enough the last few years. Obviously, it doesn't Lonzo Ball, point guard. But I think, again, the other thing is you're not going to get another shot at a job like Kentucky. This is it for you, because whoever gets the job now is going to be there at least 5 years, maybe more. So this is your only shot if you're going to do it. Does the timing line up perfectly? Because I don't think he'll be fired after this year. I think he'll get one more year. But I think there is a couple days ago, I would have said the odds were like 0 to 10%. Now I would say the odds are 25%. And if I'm Mitch Barnhart, that 25% is enough to wait on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you do. And you line up, like you said, the people that you would go after post Billy Donovan. I've seen the reports that that Kentucky is going all in on Hurley today. If they are making that trip up to Storrs, I think it's going to be a disappointing drive for them.
Where should they go? Where should they go for lunch at least? Get a good lunch if you're Mitch Barnhart.
I mean, it's Storrs. You're probably heading over to somebody's. You're probably heading over to somebody's house. Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.